My name is Elira Quinn. I am 30 years old. Last night, I went to surprise my parents. But the moment I walked into the house, I froze. They were lying on the floor, unconscious, not moving. I rushed them to the hospital with shaking hands. And then the doctor said something that broke me. They've been poisoned. I started crying. I couldn't understand how it happened, or who could do something like this. Nothing made sense. But 1 week later, what my husband discovered made my heart feel like it stopped beating. Before I tell you what actually happened, please like and subscribe to the channel and tell me your country in the comments. Now let's begin. A week ago, my brother called me and said they were going on a trip outside the country for a few days. Before hanging up, he told me, "Mom and Dad will be alone, just visit them when you're free." Everything sounded normal, and that's why I decided to go and surprise my parents. It had been a long time since I visited. Life had gotten busy and I kept delaying it, but that day I finally decided no more excuses. I wanted to see them, sit with them, talk like before. The house looked quiet when I arrived, too quiet. Usually my mother would have the TV on or my father would be outside watering the plants, but that day nothing. I pushed the door open slowly. "Mom," I called out. No answer. "Dad." Still nothing. A strange feeling crept into my chest. Something wasn't right. I stepped inside, and then I saw them. Both of them were lying on the floor, completely still, not moving. For a second, my mind went blank. I couldn't understand what I was looking at. It didn't feel real. "Mom?" I whispered, walking closer. No response. I dropped my bag and rushed to them, my hands shaking as I touched my mother's face. Cold. Too cold. "Dad, wake up," I shouted, my voice breaking, but neither of them moved. Panic hit me all at once. I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and called the ambulance. "Please come quickly," I cried. "They're not waking up, please hurry." Those few minutes felt like hours. I kept trying to wake them up, calling their names again and again, but nothing worked. When the ambulance finally arrived, everything turned into chaos. Doctors rushed in, checked their pulse, put oxygen masks on them, and quickly carried them out. I followed them to the hospital, my heart racing. I couldn't stop shaking. I couldn't stop thinking what happened. At the hospital, they were taken straight into the emergency room. The doors closed, and I was left outside alone. Time moved slowly. Every second felt heavy. I kept staring at those doors, hoping they would open, hoping someone would come out and say, "They're fine." But no one came. I tried calling my brother. No answer. Again. Still nothing. "Pick up, please pick up," I whispered. But the call kept ringing. I called his wife. Same thing. No response. My mind started racing. Where are they? Why aren't they answering? After some time, our relatives started arriving. I had called one of them earlier, and they came quickly after hearing what happened. "What happened?" one of them asked. "I don't know," I said, my voice shaking. "I just found them like that." Another relative spoke. "Your brother left for a trip last week, right?" I nodded. "Yes, he's been gone for days." They looked at each other, concern growing on their faces. Hours passed. Finally, the doctor came out. I rushed toward him. "How are they?" I asked quickly. "Are they okay?" The doctor's expression was serious. "They are alive," he said, "but their condition is critical." My heart dropped. "What happened to them?" I asked. He looked at me for a second, then said, "They've been poisoned." The words hit me like a shock. "Poisoned?" I repeated. I felt my legs weaken. "Are you sure?" I asked. He nodded. "Yes. We are doing everything we can, but the situation is very serious." Tears filled my eyes. I couldn't believe it. Poisoned? Who would do something like this? And how? There was no break-in, no robbery. Nothing was missing. Then how? I stepped back slowly, my mind spinning. Nothing made sense. Nothing at all. Behind me, my relatives were whispering, "This is serious. Who could do this? Why would anyone do such a thing?" I didn't have answers. I just stood there, frozen. I tried calling my brother again. Still no answer. The more I tried, the more uneasy I felt. Something was wrong. Very wrong. That night, I didn't leave the hospital. I couldn't. I stayed outside the room, waiting, praying, hoping. Every time a doctor walked by, my heart would race. Every sound made me nervous. I kept thinking about that moment when I opened the door, when I saw them lying there. It didn't feel like an accident. It didn't feel random. It felt like someone had planned this. But who? And why? As the night got deeper, one thought kept repeating in my mind. If they were poisoned, then someone gave it to them. And whoever did it was someone they trusted. I looked at my phone again. Still no call. No message. No response. My brother was still not answering. And for the first time, a strange fear started growing inside me. Not just fear for my parents, but fear of the truth. Because deep down, I felt like this wasn't over. Not even close. The night felt endless. I didn't sleep. I just sat outside the hospital room, waiting and praying. Early the next morning, my phone finally rang. It was my brother. I picked up immediately. "Where are you?" I said, my voice shaking. "Why weren't you answering?" "Mom and Dad are in the hospital." There was a pause. Then his voice came, confused and worried. "What? What happened?" "They're unconscious," I said, trying not to cry. "The doctors said they've been poisoned." "What?" he said loudly. "That's not possible." Within a few hours, he and his wife reached the hospital. They rushed inside, clearly panicked. His face looked tense, and his wife's eyes were already filled with tears. "What happened?" he asked quickly. How did this happen?" "I don't know," I said. "I just found them like that." His wife covered her mouth. "Oh my God, who would do something like this?" she whispered. We all stood there in shock. No one had answers. The doctors didn't allow us to stay long near them. They were still in critical condition, machines surrounding them. My brother stood quietly, looking at them. "They were fine when we left," he said softly. "When did you last talk to them?" I asked. "A few days ago," he replied. They sounded completely normal. His wife nodded slowly, agreeing that everything seemed okay. Later that day, the police arrived and started asking questions. "Who lives in the house?" one officer asked. "My parents," I said. "My brother and his wife also live there, but they were on a trip." The officer wrote it down. "And there was no sign of forced entry?" "No," I answered. He looked around at all of us. "We are treating this as a poisoning case. We will investigate everything." The word poisoning still didn't feel real. They asked my brother about the trip. "When did you leave?" they asked. "About a week ago," he said. "We were out of the country." "Do you have travel records?" "Yes," he replied. "I can show everything." He sounded calm and cooperative. After some time, the officers left, and the hospital felt quieter again, but inside, everything felt heavy. Days started passing slowly, each one longer than the last. My parents were still in critical condition, and doctors were trying everything. I stayed at the hospital most of the time, and my brother and his wife were there too. Sometimes we sat together in silence. Sometimes we talked about small things, just to distract ourselves. "This doesn't make sense," my brother said one evening. "Why would anyone do this?" I shook my head. "I don't know." His wife wiped her tears. "I just want them to be okay," she said softly. We all felt the same. The police came again for more questions. They checked details about the house, asked about visitors, food, and daily routine, but nothing clear came out. There were no signs of robbery, nothing missing, and no forced entry. It felt like a mystery with no direction. One evening, I was sitting alone in the corridor when my husband came and sat beside me. He had been quiet these past few days, observing everything. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Nothing makes sense." He nodded slowly, then said, "I've been thinking about this case." I looked at him. "There's no break-in," he said. "No outsider involved." I stayed silent, listening carefully. "That means," he continued, "whatever happened came from inside the house." A chill ran through me. "But how?" I asked. "And who would do that?" He didn't answer immediately. He seemed deep in thought. After a moment, he said quietly, "I need to check something." "What do you mean?" I asked. "I'll tell you once I'm sure," he replied. Then he stood up and walked away. I sat there, watching him go, my heart feeling uneasy again. Because slowly, very slowly, it felt like we were getting closer to the truth, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to face it. The next day, my husband came back. The moment I saw his face, I knew something was different. He looked serious, quiet, focused. "Did you find something?" I asked, my voice slightly shaking. He didn't answer immediately. For a second, he just looked at me like he was thinking how to say it. Then he nodded slowly. "The medical reports came," he said. My heart started beating faster. "What did they say?" I asked quickly. He took a deep breath. "This wasn't a one-time poisoning," he said. "It didn't happen suddenly." I froze. "It's a slow-acting poison," he continued. "It was entering their bodies little by little over several days." I felt a cold chill run through my entire body. "That means," I whispered. He looked straight into my eyes. "Someone was giving it to them regularly." My hands started shaking. "But how?" I asked. "They don't eat outside food. They don't trust strangers. They don't even let anyone into the house easily." "That's exactly why I started checking everything," he said calmly. "Their daily routine, what they eat every day, what never changes." He paused for a moment, then said, "And I found something." We drove to my parents' house. The silence in the car felt heavy, and my mind was racing with questions. The moment we entered the house, my chest tightened again. Everything looked the same, clean, normal, peaceful, but now it felt different. My husband walked straight to the kitchen without hesitation. He opened the cabinet slowly and took out a jar, pickle. He turned toward me. "They ate this every day, right?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "Yes, every morning." My heartbeat was getting faster. He took out his phone. "There's something you need to see," he said. I felt my fingers go cold. He opened a video. "Your parents had hidden cameras in the house," he said. "For safety, they installed them quietly." I held my breath as the video started playing. The kitchen appeared on the screen, the same kitchen, but from days ago. And then I saw them. My brother and his wife were standing there like everything was normal, talking casually. For a moment, I felt confused. Then slowly, my brother reached for the pickle jar. My heart skipped a beat. He opened it and looked around for a second. Then his wife stepped closer, took out a small packet from her hand, and right there in front of the camera, they poured it into the pickle. My vision blurred. "No," I whispered, my voice barely coming out. They mixed it carefully, closed the jar, placed it back exactly where it was, and then walked away like nothing had happened. The video stopped. For a moment, there was complete silence. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak. It felt like my whole body had stopped responding. This isn't real," I said, my voice trembling. But deep down, I knew it was. "They planned everything," my husband said quietly. "They knew the poison would act slowly, so no one would suspect anything." My tears started falling uncontrollably. "They left for the trip right after," he continued, "to make sure they had a perfect alibi." I covered my mouth, crying. "Why?" I whispered again, my voice breaking completely. My husband's answer came slowly. "Property." That one word felt heavier than everything else. "They knew everything would come to them only if your parents were gone," he said. My legs gave up, and I sat down heavily on the chair. The same brother who called me, who told me to visit our parents, was planning their death. I couldn't accept it. I didn't want to, but the truth was right in front of me. The police were informed immediately. The footage was handed over. The reports confirmed everything, and there was no doubt left. My brother and his wife were arrested. This time there were no tears, no questions, no acting, just silence. Days later, my parents finally regained consciousness. They looked weak, fragile. I sat beside them, holding their hands tightly. "Mom," I whispered softly. She slowly opened her eyes and looked at me. "Who did this?" my father asked in a weak voice. That question broke me again. I tried to hold it in, but I couldn't. Tears started falling as I told them everything, the video, the poison, the truth. At first, they just stared at me like they didn't understand, like their minds refused to accept it. And then it finally hit them. My mother's lips started trembling, and tears rolled down her cheeks slowly. Not loud, not dramatic, but painfully real. My father turned his face away, his eyes filled with tears. "Our own son?" he whispered. That moment felt heavier than anything. It wasn't just pain, it was heartbreak, a kind of pain that stays forever. The case went to court. Everything was presented, the footage, the reports, the truth. There was no way out. And in the end, the judge gave the final verdict: life imprisonment for attempted murder. The courtroom fell silent. That was the moment everything truly ended, or maybe the moment everything changed forever. 3 months have passed since that day. My parents are alive, but they're not the same. They don't laugh like before, they don't talk much, and sometimes they just sit quietly, lost in their thoughts. They are trying to move forward, trying to forget, and I am trying too. But some memories don't fade. Some wounds never heal. Because sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who break you the deepest.